And we're back in the second battle of the Mongolian campaign. I've actually done some roles for the campaign AI, which we're also working on. And after those roles, after the initial repulse, the Kwantung Army, which initially sent the raid into Mongolia, decided to try further north. They've thwarted the initial Russian counterattacks along the border in response to the raid, and they've decided that they're going to make a push on Irkutsk instead. So to do this, they've had to go further north through the hills. So they're actually heading now into southern Russia with the target of Irkutsk rather than Ulaanbaatar. So a bit of a shift in direction. The border commander who initiated the raid has been posted elsewhere after his failure. Perhaps answering to his superiors back in Tokyo. So this will be the second battle in the campaign series. It's now going to be the Irkutsk campaign, so I'll change around the headings in YouTube. And this is the map. So again, it's another border raid. Hopefully the Japanese can do a bit better this time. Certainly heard what happened to the previous commander who failed, and they'll be very eager not to have the same problems that they had in the first match. Be against the AI again, so it'll be another tough game. I'll do my roles for that. If you want to see more about the AI, please do watch the first video in the series. I talk about it in a bit more depth, so I'm going to assume that you guys already know how it works. But I will show you the roles that I make for the AI's difficulty. Alright, so see you in a moment. Okay, so roles have been made for the personality of the AI. Rolled a 4, the green dice, so it means it's a balanced AI. It'll try to secure the minimum number of objectives it needs to win, and also try and secure any additional objectives as well that it's able to take control of during the game. Also rolled a 4 for its difficulty, which means on a roll of 1 to 4 it'll try and counter whatever my army's doing, and on a roll of 5 to 6 it'll try and cap the objectives it needs to win. That'll take us into the first turn. Okay, so the green objective markers have been placed. So the aim of the Japanese is basically to get to the other side of the table, and the Russians will have to prevent them from doing that. In order to win, the Japanese will need to secure at least 3 of the objective markers. In order for the Russians to win, they need to hold on to at least 4. So that's the gist of the objectives. If the Japanese break through, they'll go further across the border of southern Russia, start pushing towards some of the towns leading up to Irkutsk. So this will be the second battle in the campaign, but a bit of a change of the strategic directive. The Kwantung Army has changed its mind about moving further into Mongolia. Alright, so it'll take us through to turn 1. Alright, that's the end of turn 1. So the Japanese are pushing up along the left hand side. Let's see, they've moved up there. The Russians have tried to counter them by putting a squad there. In the centre, a few shenanigans going on there. We've got the tank, the armoured car, and the air observer. They're sort of securing the centre for the Japanese. Not really looking at moving anything through there. The Russians are countering by sending 2 trucks and a tank up the centre. So it's going to be quite interesting to deal with. Japanese also pushing forward on this flank, covered by the AT gun. Truck full of Japanese regulars moving up the centre towards those 2 squads. So key thing I think for the Japanese will be avoiding this, and for the Russians they'll be hanging on for as long as possible, trying to shut down Japanese movement. So as you can see, Russians moved up, so rifles. That squad has a rifle squad with Molotovs. That truck has a squad of 12 veterans with tough fighters. Rifle squad, lieutenant, heavy mortar, and air observer. So they're sort of, initially they deployed to try and counter the AT gun. But now it looks like after all the dice have been rolled that actually a lot of the action is going to be in the centre, and the Japanese tanks have sort of, because they've appeared later on in the deployment, have been able to avoid getting tangled up with the air observer. It'll be a tough line to break through. There are a lot of Russians, and the AI is quite competent. I'm sort of a bit nervous about the centre 2 trucks and the tank. So I'll see how we go. I think I learnt some lessons from the last match against the AI, so I'll see if I can put them into play. And that's the end of turn 1. Okay, so it's the end of turn 2. So it's been a pretty heavily contested match. On the far side, walk across. Japanese have moved up, taken some shots at the Russians in the woods. We've killed 3 of them. Sort of hoping that we would have killed off more of the Russians with that shooting, because I had 13 shots, but only got 3. They've fired back. They've caused 3 casualties from one squad. Also, that squad has moved up and has caused another 2 casualties, so my 13-man squad's rather depleted there now. So it'll be tough going on that side. Moved up another squad to support them. AT gun here has taken a shot at the air observer and missed. Air observer's run off into the centre. Mortar has taken a shot at the anti-tank gun and missed. Units pushing up in the centre. So the Russian peasants moving up to defend the wood line. We've also retreated from the centre towards that forest. There's been a bit of gunfire going to and fro here. Some casualties in that squad, 2 of them. The veterans are in the centre. It's a 12-man squad. The tank has gone over the top of the hill, taken a shot at my tank and missed. My tank has taken a shot back and also missed. Air observer has had to drop an airstrike on the T-34. Actually no, sorry, my tank hit but didn't penetrate the armour. This squad here has moved up, taken some shots at the truck, put another pin on it. Also the armoured car in the centre, put a pin on the truck. That's the reason why the veterans decided to get out. The squad's just stayed in there, and this squad has pushed up to try and take the fight to the Japanese that are still back there in their deployment. So it's going to be a tough fight for the Japanese. They've got to try and capture at least 3 of these points, and it's the start of turn 3, so we're about to do the airstrike. Alright, see you next turn. Airstrike just rolled in, the tank has been destroyed. Armoured car has suffered 2 pins. Unit of Molotovs in the forest has also suffered an additional 2 pins, taking them up to 3. Russians in the woods have suffered an extra pin, and that's more or less been the result of the airstrike. So it's a good opportunity for this squad to start pushing up. So we'll see what happens in this turn. Okay, so it's the end of turn 3. So as you can see, the Japanese are making a real push on the right hand side. Shots have been fired either side. Trucks been destroyed by enemy rifle fire. One of my squads has had to take cover in there to avoid being shot at. Moved up some reinforcements. Veterans going up the flank. These units still holding their ground. This unit suffered 3 pins, so it's not really in the fight anymore. It's got to pass a pretty high morale test to move. Veterans are redeploying to cover the points at the back. In the centre, as I mentioned before, enemy tank is blown up. An airstrike's been called on my armoured car, so we'll resolve that at the start of the turn. Tank's wheeled out, taken some shots at that unit there. Done some casualties. It's failed its pin test, so it's not been able to do anything. This squad has taken some very long shots at the veterans in the woods and has not hit them. So I'm going to put a pin or something on that unit. So we'll see how we go. Still pretty close. It's end of turn 3, so start of turn 4. And there's the enemy airstrike rolling in. I've got to somehow capture at least 3 of the points. So it'll be an interesting contest. We'll see how we go. Okay, we'll take him to the next turn, and the airstrike for the AI. Okay, so it's the end of turn 4. As you can see, the Japanese have rushed in with all 3 squads. They've done a bit of damage to the squad that was defending there, which has retreated back. Also done a lot of damage to the squad down there, which has held its own, tried to fire some shots but missed. But I think I should be locking that point down fairly soon. Squad in the centre has rallied, so it's now a bit of a threat again. Veterans have moved into the centre, taken some shots and killed 2 of the veterans in that squad. Rolled for the airstrike, which has not come in twice now, start of last turn or what's going to be turn 5. So, but that has not moved, it's still on its 2 pins. The armoured car officer has tried to run across to help it. Might be a bit dangerous given where he is. These guys have fallen back behind the rocks to get out of the way of the tank. These guys are still holding the wood, taking shots from the tank and the infantry. So they've suffered some casualties and they've gotten some pins. They've got 2 pins at the moment. And that more or less wraps up the turn, so it's been quite a good turn for the Japanese. So just have to capture 3 of these points to win the match. So we'll see how we go. And hopefully, it still depends on what happens in the next turn, I think. I need to still thin out a lot of the Russian numbers because it's quite a large Russian army. It's about 72 riflemen, so there's a lot to chew through. But we'll see how we go. Alright, we're going to turn 5. Okay, so it's the end of turn 5. Japanese have taken the far point after a bit of close quarters and some firing. A few casualties on the Japanese side, but the Russians have been wiped out, so the Japanese got that first point. Second squad moving up into the middle of the road. They took some shots at the veterans and put a pin on them. Veteran squad on my side has moved up after getting shot at by the veterans, by that squad and by that squad, and charged the rifle squad and wiped it out. Centre, I've rolled for the airstrike for turn 6 and that's not arrived, so that armoured car is very lucky and still there. Let's see, in the centre, my tank's pushed up and my infantry have pushed up, so they're now moving on those 2 points there. Infantry have taken some fire from the Russians on the far side that were in an ambush. However, this unit in the centre is too pinned to move, so I just pretty much have to move onto the points to cap those. So we'll see how we go. It's looking pretty good for the Japanese, but maybe the Russians can fight back. Alright, see you at the end of turn 6. Okay, looks like the Japanese have been able to secure a win. Got very lucky with the first 3 dice draws of the game. All 3 of them were Japanese, so I got that unit, and that unit to all fire at the veterans and wipe them out. The squad has shot a little bit at that squad, reduced its numbers. The Russians were able to put enough things on there to contest that point, still keep it in their possession. I sent another unit of infantry over there to take that point. The Russians assaulted out of the woods, destroyed that unit. However, they weren't able to stop my tank from getting the position on the far side. So all up, I've got the 3 points required to win, and that means that the Japanese will push forward towards Irkutsk, so there'll be more battles ahead in the campaign. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this one. Please do view, like, comment and subscribe. Alright, thanks and see you in the next match.